Hello students. Before we begin with this lecture 8, which is the low emission power plant, I'd like to inform you once again that we are going on with the online classes on a very serious note. We'll be having regular quizzes, and your next quiz is scheduled soon. That's quiz 2, and that quiz will actually also include this particular lecture. We do have approximately a month to finish the syllabus, so let's hope that we can finish it on time. Definitely, at some point, if I feel that the number of classes are less for finishing the classes, I'll upload more lectures, more video lectures, so that we can cope up with the syllabus. So, from the time to time, if you can just read those whatever I have uploaded on a regular basis, I think that will be a much less stress on you. Okay, so please try to follow that. Today's lecture is on low emission power plants. So till now we have seen a number of power plants, the thermal power plants, the solar thermal, the geothermal. Okay, but we do see that there is a lot of pollution that comes into the picture. The main disadvantage of any of the power plant, mostly the power plant which uses fossil fuel or coal, is pollution. So if we have something which is a low emission power plant, for example, something which emits low carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and so on, that kind of power plant is definitely considered to be very much conducive for the environment, right? So if before proceeding, if we just look into a data where the carbon dioxide emission is actually put into the picture from 1970 to 2018, right? So since 1970, if the records are to be believed and considered here, and if we look into this, let's say for example the first case is China. So you can see after the year 2000 there has been a sudden rise. Okay, there has been a sudden rise. Okay, so that means the number of power plants has come into the picture. The increase in the emission of carbon dioxide, it means that the number of power plants are also increasing in number, or the capacity of a power plant is also going high. What does it mean? That the electricity consumption or the demand for electricity is also obviously increasing. Okay, so if you see something which is more or less steady, that means the demand has been steady for a number of time. So if we look into the picture for India, okay, if we look into the picture for India, we do see that the emission of power plant is actually much lower compared to that of the rest of the world. But in that aspect, Japan and Russia is doing pretty well. Japan and Russia is doing pretty well. It's not that the need is less. The need might be more, but might be they are using more renewable energy sources and so on. Okay, so there can be a lot of things which can be concluded. We can't just say that if the emission of CO2 is less, means that the need of power is more. The need of power might be more, but people have found out alternatives like the nuclear power or the solar power, the wind power, to generate more electricity, so that carbon dioxide emission is less into the environment. Okay, so you can go to the wiki page to study this data in more detail. However, this is not very important for the syllabus right now. So if you look into a report of Hindu, it's a recent report, and look into the carbon dioxide emission. We are not really concerned right now. We are not concerned about what's happening outside India. Let's concentrate on what's happening in India in terms of carbon dioxide emission. If you look into the figures, it is 2,299 million tons of carbon dioxide in 2018. In 2018, in fact, it's a 4.8% rise from last year, as per the International Energy Agency. So this rise, which is from 2017 to 2018, is actually much higher compared to United States and China, which is not a very pleasant scenario. Okay, because in general USA and China are the biggest emitters of carbon dioxide in the world. Okay, so if we have more carbon dioxide and more of other gases, it obviously means that there is a lot of greenhouse gases which are getting emitted. Okay, now why does this carbon dioxide gets emitted? Because of the rise in coal consumption. Okay, so if a power plant is thermal, okay, mostly it's thermal, and coal is used as a fuel for increasing the temperature of water and getting converted into steam, CO2 emission definitely becomes more. So China, India and United States together accounts for nearly 70% of the rise in energy demand. Okay. So in general we can say this is a happy picture. A rise in energy demand means there is more manufacturing units and there is more need of electricity and so on. So if India comes into that, obviously we are progressing, but we don't need to progress in terms of CO2 emission. Okay, that is not something which we don't want. So as per India's commitments to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, so climate change has been a serious issue, global issue, and there has been a lot of commitments made to United Nations by different countries. What India has promised is to reduce the emission of intensity of its economy by 2030 compared to 2005 level. Okay, these are just the background of what is the impact, or what are the steps taken by different countries in order to reduce CO2 emission. India has also committed that 40% of its energy will be from renewable source by 2030. So if you are into the solar sector or renewable energy sector, definitely there is going to be more and more jobs. Okay, that is also something which can be looked from a positive point of view, because India has also promised to install 100 gigawatt of solar power by 2022, and after installation, if the consumption of electricity starts from those solar power grids, we can definitely use it for the future as a renewable source of energy. Okay. So the trend is basically in general, if we can see the coal basically energy demand. So as I told you, India has seen a growth of approximately 5% compared to China's 1%, and in fact in United States the growth rate has reduced, okay, for coal. Okay, so this is something which is also to be kept in mind. So we are actually world's fourth largest growing economy, more of a GK, and of course the fastest growing energy market, and the current power capacity is 30% short of demand. So basically there is more need of power, but we are still short of it. So that means we need to construct more and more power plants and so on, okay, to meet the demands. And in general, coal and petroleum are the primary source of energy. But when we talk about the coal and the Indian coal that we have, okay, the coal that can be mined from the Indian ground basically has got a very high ash content. So more ash content means it will basically have inefficient combustion. That means the efficiency of the coal is definitely less. Okay, and this contributes to the emission of air particulate matter and other trace gases. So please remember this, that when we actually consider the coal which is extracted from the ground, it's not that pure coal. Even after refinement, the chances are that there will be more mines or more minerals into it, which is actually not very conducive for the environment. Okay, so including gases, they are responsible for the greenhouse effect. So impact of reducing carbon dioxide emission, it will basically be an introduction of zero emission fossil fuel power plants, including carbon dioxide capture and storage. So what is happening here is that we can have power plants which actually does not emit carbon dioxide, and if it emits carbon dioxide, there is a provision that the carbon dioxide can be captured and stored. Okay. So for that, what we do, we use filters, and with the growth of technology, these filters are becoming more and more sophisticated in nature. As you know, even if you are using masks and all, you are using N95 masks and so on. Okay, I'm sure you already know about these things, because the pore size is much smaller for N95 mask, so it is able to stop the particulate matter. So that is for your face, right? That is a face mask. So that is basically a kind of filter. So similar kind of things you can actually attach to any power plant systems. Okay, even if you're considering car exhaust system and you're attaching some kind of filter, that is definitely going to stop a lot of harmful substances. Okay, so this is what is happening using the filters. Okay, so what happens is, one of the technology which is coming up and which is very much prominent is integrated gasification combined cycle power plant. The keyword here is gasification. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to use an additional gas to actually nullify the effect of carbon dioxide. So these are mostly oxy-blown power plants, and then it is more compatible than conventional power plant for pollution control. Okay, so these are more conventional power plants for pollution control. So what happens is, this is an integrated gasification combined cycle power plant. Okay, so integrated means there is a system which is combined one with the other. A short term we call, let's call it GCC right now. Okay, so if we have got coal here, it will basically get converted with the addition of oxygen into synthesis gas. Okay, so if we add the oxygen, okay, and the fuel is coal, the exhaust of the coal basically is combined with oxygen, okay, and then we have got a gas which is called the syngas, and then this process is called gasification. And syngas is basically the primary fuel which is used in the power plant, okay, or yes, the cycle power plant, okay, combined cycle power plant. So what we do at the beginning is, at the beginning we basically use natural gas as a startup and as a backup fuel. So what happens is we do use coal, okay, that's why it is called integrated, but we also use natural gas. It is used, natural gas can be used both as a startup, and if there is not too much of coal present or not too much of natural gas present, the use of both of them can somewhere be balanced, okay, and this natural gas can also be used as a backup fuel. So what happens is, during this startup process, 30% load, okay, the gas turbine is transitioned into syngas and then taken to base load. So what happens, we do the startup using a natural gas, and it is basically only a 30% load that is given into the system, and then what happens, the gas turbine is transitioned to syngas. So what happens after this startup has been done, the 30% startup has been done, for using it at its full power, the turbine at its full power, we basically use the sync gas now, which is basically nothing but the combination of coal and the oxygen part, okay. So that syngas is considered, and then that actually takes over the use of the turbine there. So what happens is, the gasification process we have can produce syngas from high sulfur coal, heavy petroleum residues and biomass. So if you are using high sulfur coal or petroleum or biomass as the powering fuel for the power plant, we can use it with oxygen and convert it into syngas, which can be used to rotate the turbine to generate electricity. Now why integrated? Now because see, this syngas is produced in a gasification unit by the plant, which has been optimized for the plant's combined cycle, okay. So we use a combined cycle here, we do use a natural gas also, and we use the syngas. So syngas is produced is used as a fuel in a gas turbine which produces electric power. So basically this is what is used here. Now what happens, what this does is to improve the overall efficiency. Heat is recovered from both the gasification process and also the gas turbine exhaust in waste heat boilers producing steam. So the heat which is actually wasted is in fact recovered, okay, and used again, okay, so that it can be reused, okay. So when this heat can be reused, or this heat in the form of steam can be reused, we can actually generate additional electric power. So we do have a lot of systems here, okay. We integrate a lot of things together, okay, so that we can actually improve the efficiency of the power plant. So when we have oxygen and CO2 to gasify, what are its advantages, okay. So when we actually gasify this, we do the gasification process, we basically have lowest emission of nitrous oxide, sulfur oxide, of course particulate matter, and low hazardous air pollutants, okay. In fact the mercury and the carbon dioxide is also reduced or removed, okay. So I hope you know that why there is presence of mercury, because if you consider something like coal, it has got mineral content, of which mercury is also one of them, okay. So that mercury and carbon dioxide removal is also possible if we do the gasification process. There is obviously lower water usage and lower solid production, and sulfur and non-leachable slag byproducts, okay. So everything gets reduced, all the wastage gets reduced here, okay. So if in an IGCC plant, okay, what happens is this carbon dioxide can be separated during the synthesis gas preparation stage. Now the separation, compression and the storage of the gas reduces the efficiency by about 12%. So it does have a flip side also, that if we separate, compress and store the gas, okay, because what we are doing is we are separating it, doing the syngas process, okay, we are compressing it and also storing the gas, it basically reduces the efficiency by 12% points. Although we do not want that, but obviously we have to sacrifice something for getting a clean environment, okay. So what happens, what in this case of mercury emission, IGC is essentially only coal technology that can effectively remove mercury from the environment. So mercury is very hazardous, it's basically carcinogenic in nature, but this technology is quite efficient in removing the mercury from the environment. In fact, carbon baths have demonstrated 99.9% mercury removal from the syngas. Okay. So what is the whole process is all about? We basically use the syngas to move the turbine. If we use the syngas, these are the basic advantages that we have: removal of this environmental wastes, okay, because that syngas is basically used for generating the heat, okay, or used in the turbine. And if the syngas is used, the amount of pollutants are much less in number, but then there is a problem: the efficiency is reduced by 12%, and mercury emission is also one of the bigger advantages which is removed, okay. So if you look into the carbon capture and the reduction technique, there are three technology which routes to the capture of carbon dioxide: pre-combustion, post-combustion, and oxy-fuel combustion. What happens in post-combustion, that means after the fuel is burnt, and oxy-fuel combustion technology, it's feasible, it's safe, and have the potential to be cost effective, okay. So it can definitely be cost effective, okay. So we don't need to the expense comes down, okay. So that means we basically definitely use it. So we capture the carbon dioxide after it has been used, okay. So that is what is done in post combustion. So if we use some other sources of power plants, okay, I think this is quite obvious, and this is basically a general discussion on what kind of power plant we should use or what technology we should incorporate so that we are able to reduce the carbon footprint. So solar, wind and nuclear power has proved to be very much prominent in reducing the carbon footprint. The carbon footprint, we mean that the amount of carbon or the carbon compounds that are being emitted into the environment after using for different use in different energy producing plants, right. So it basically creates an insignificant carbon footprint, these three technologies: solar, wind and nuclear power, compared with savings from avoiding safe fossil fuels, okay. Carbon footprint of solar, wind and nuclear power are many times lower than that of coal or gas with carbon capture and storage, but sadly enough we are using more of coal, but slowly we are shifting towards this renewable source of energy depending on the location, okay. So that's all for today, okay. This was very much theoretical, okay. It's a very general discussion, okay, but you need to remember what is IGCC, how does it reduce the effect, okay, what is syngas and so on. So mostly from this topic, if there during the final exam some questions are said from this particular presentation, mostly there would be objective questions. Thank you.